The Cleveland Cavaliers make their second edition of the offseason, drafting Jaylon Tyson out of Cal Berkeley with the 20th overall pick in the NBA draft the other night. The 6'5", 21, almost 22-year-old joins a Cleveland team as their newest wing, kind of a late first rounder, their first draft pick in 2 years. We're going to discuss a little bit about where Jaylon Tyson comes from, and the big question, is there a plan for a guy that went 20th overall to a team that made a pretty deep, semi-deep playoff run? Does GM Koby Altman and Mike Gansey, who talked about him the night of, do they have a plan for this guy? Is there a spot on the team for this guy? Remember, they've got a new coach. They've got pressure to win after a NBA playoffs elimination, and they bring in a very raw athlete. So we're going to talk about Jaylon Tyson, where he comes from, kind of get a scouting report. We'll look at the grades from the draft, and then, of course, my personal opinion on what happens next for him once he arrives summer league, training camp, in season. You know, we saw guys play in season who didn't in the playoffs. First, subscribe. That's the big thing here. This is a new channel. We're trying to get this bad boy established. You can go back and watch my review of Kenny Atkinson as he was hired with the Cavaliers. Not sure that was their first option. It's the only option at this point as they bring in Atkinson as the new head coach. Cavs Digest is building all the offseason news you need for the Cavs. I don't think they're done. There's more to be done. They made 2 moves so far in a coach and a draft pick, but there is more to establish. We'll get into that later throughout the summer, into the fall, and then, of course, you can always stay up to date with new storylines and things that are happening with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Billy Beebe back with you, very excited to discuss the newest member of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Jaylon Tyson, selected out of Cal Berkeley, and you can see him there in the brand new hat, feeling good, kind of getting after it already with the Cleveland crowd. And look, like I said, 6'5", small forward, shooting guard-ish spot for Cal Berkeley. And here's the thing, started at Texas, moved on to Texas Tech, then to Cal Berkeley. So you got 3 years in college, 3 different colleges. That's not going to be uncommon within the next 5 years. Really hasn't been uncommon within the past 2 guys transferring schools. However, when you break down his stats, when you kind of go back and look at his stats, the big thing there is he got better with more playing time, right? In one sense, obviously, anybody's going to get better with more playing time, but in another sense, my fear, and we'll jump into that more, is that Tyson, who really went from about 5 minutes a game to almost playing the complete game for Cal Berkeley, averaging around, I don't know, maybe 1 point to start his college career, and then eventually, as you can see, this is from the ringer.com, kind of breaking him down a little bit, eventually got to 19, 6, and almost 4 at 3.5. Really good. The ringer.com has great scouting reports, so if you ever want to check that out, these are the kind of things you can look at, and you could drop this down and go into strengths and weaknesses with him. This is a guy who plays defense hard. He's got a good finish at the rim, and he can shoot okay. Now, Cal played him a ton on both ends. He was very aggressive. The ball was always in his hands. He's on both ends of the floor, and we'll get more into how that fits with the Cavaliers later. First, we got to do the big one. Let's get into the draft grades. I know everybody's kind of excited to pick those apart as the offseason goes. So you can look here. You don't love to see a B-. I think for that, the Cavs, there were just names floating around that might have looked better for them, but they were all before or after them. All the mock drafts I looked at, Jaylon Tyson was not on there. A lot of Bob Carrington, I believe, from Pitt. Kyle Filipowski, I saw a little bit. I personally wanted Jared McCain. So it was a moment like, who the heck is Jaylon Tyson? You know, you get Jaylon Tyson, and it's like, all right, well, let's figure out who this guy is and kind of what the deal is here with Tyson. And at this point, it's kind of an unknown, not just who he is, as really he's got 3 different years and 3 different levels of college, but how he's got to fit in, you know, as we kind of take a look again at the draft grades here. And again, from Bleacher Report here, a C-. They really just thought he's a hodgepodge in the middle of a draft class that was down for a guy that has an inconsistent non-consistent college career, and now he's thrown in a hodgepodge of guards and more with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They just talked about, is this guy really going to be a fit? Is this guy really going to be able to kind of be there and do things for the Cavaliers? You saw those 2 first grades, and then the Ringer here giving the Cavaliers an A-. So they like Jaylon Tyson. The Ringer does a ton of great scouting. They like Jaylon Tyson as a player. Maybe not the fit as much. I think that's what the minus was for. And let's get into the fit, right? Talking about the Cavaliers, looking at the Cavaliers, roster-wise, I've seen a couple comps. The Ringer comped him to Ryan Gomes, comped him to Jared Dudley. You'd like a player like that. However, he's not going to be that in year 1. And he's going to be competing with a couple of guys that, in Isaac Okoro, playing time, I guess against Max Strus, Amani Bates is trying to build up. That might be some of that's Dean Wade's spot. This is a hodgepodge that he has to try and get through. Okoro's not re-signed yet. They're going to work on that, and that's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of go out and re-sign Isaac Okoro and where he'll fit in that. My thing is, I don't think he's going to get playing time. Use the 20th overall pick on a wing. NBA's wing heavy right now, especially after the Celtics won the title. With playing time, when we talk about playing time for this guy, I worry that there just isn't going to be much for him. And the G League really should not be an option with a player of this caliber. It just can't be. This is a good player at the end of college, not for his first 2 years. He does well when he has the ball in his hand, when he's locked in, when he's focused. Well, what the Cavaliers need is a guy who's going to be automatic from 3 and hustle on defense in about the 10 minutes they're going to give him. Sam Merrill's another name he's going to have to compete with minutes for. So my worry is, if Tyson, dare I say, starts in the G League or is on the roster and not playing, which we saw plenty with. Amani Bates was up and barely touched the floor. Injury-wise, you saw Darius Garland and Evan Mobley get hurt, not the wings. There was no Sam Merrill minutes out there. There was no Max Strus minutes. The Cavs were looking for answers late in the playoffs there. I think they were trying to figure out, now there's another name that I almost forgot to mention in Karis LeVert. A couple Karis LeVert comps, but again, you just want a younger Karis LeVert out there. I don't know that that's where they're at, and the roster's at a bit of a point where there's just a lot of wings, a lot of guys, and none have been the answer. Maybe that'll give Tyson the opportunity to jump in and gain some minutes. Maybe it's just a fact where it's like, man, Isaac Okoro's not playing well in the playoffs, but why is a rookie who only does well with the ball in his hands gonna do better? I'm not sure Koby Altman has a plan for this guy. I think he had the 20th overall pick. It'd been 2 years. It's a wing-heavy year. Go with the wing. Let me know. Do you agree? Is there a plan for Jaylon Tyson? Is there a plan for the Cavs' newest draft pick, the 20th overall pick? Let me know what you think. Is this a guy that just needs to go right to the G League? Does he need to sit on the end of the bench? Or is it, hey, give him Merrill's minutes, a guy that can play a little bit of defense and will get better with a shot? Hey, why not? Let's see what you guys think as you give a comment, and remember, like, subscribe, all that. We'll keep these videos coming. We'll keep you up to date with everything. I know you see the free agency tracker below. That's going to be big going forward here on Cavs Digest.